What's up everyone, it's Lay McCall here, and today we're finally going to be taking a look at my full and extensive review of the brand new Pilotfly Adventure Gimbal. Alright, so two things before we begin here guys. If you are interested in seeing an unboxing and first impressions video, including all the components that come with this awesome product, go ahead and click the card up here above and you guys can go ahead and take a look at that video, and you will also be up to speed with everything that this gimbal can do. I also want to talk about the walk and running stabilization test that I did. Just briefly want to let y'all know that I'm literally walking or running, paying no attention to the gimbal like this, and that footage came out that smooth. Now, some of you just did not read the overlaid text that I put in that video, and I would highly recommend you all doing so. But nonetheless, you're gonna see some more footage of this gimbal within this full review, and I think you all are gonna be super impressed with this. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the full review. I got my phone right here just so that I don't forget anything, and we're gonna start off with the most obvious thing, guys, here. The motor in the back is at a 45-degree angle so that you can have a direct view to your camera's display. I am not a GH5 or a GH4 shooter, therefore a flip out screen is just not gonna work for me. I have to be able to see the back of my screen, and I just could not stand the Zion cranes and how they block that. It was such a deal breaker for me that I have waited and waited and waited until Pilotfly perfected their gimbals, and now they have the Adventurer, and that alone made this a game changer, and that was one of the huge reasons why I bought it in the first place. Okay, and let's talk about their quick release system. Now, as you guys can see here, I have some extra stuff going on up here. I personally love Arca Swiss. I have Arca Swiss with everything going on. Even the camera you're watching right now is inside of a camera cage, and it has an Arca Swiss plate in there because I adapt it all over the place in my photography and video work. So I have a little Arca Swiss plate on top of the Manfrotto quick release plate. So all of you guys that are out there shooting with Manfrotto tripods, this is gonna be really awesome for you, so you can throw it onto a gimbal, balance it, shoot, and then whenever you're ready to go back to your tripod, you can slide it off and put it back onto that tripod head. To me, that is absolutely amazing. Like I said, I do like to use Arca Swiss stuff, but that's just my preference. So in my trip to Bucharest, Romania, I was finally able to really test these batteries out. And they state here that they get 6 hours of full gimbal use with these batteries, and that's pretty much on the dot. And whenever I had my USB plugged in, I was getting a little less because I'm charging my camera at the same time. But I thought that was pretty good. You know, you get 2 of these, that's 12 hours. So I think 2 is enough for me, and I only had to swap out once a day, guys, and I thought that was pretty good. Now we're gonna take a look at the buttons on the gimbal, and let me tell you, these buttons feel very solid and very nice. I don't actually know if they're fully weather sealed, but I did take it on a trip with me to Bucharest, Romania, and it was snowing and sleeting like crazy, and I had absolutely no issues. And I was out there for like 5-6 hours a day. So these buttons feel very solid. Up here in the front, you can see 2 buttons. So this is the start and stop record button right there. It feels nice and solid, and then right below that is actually the trigger button. So with that, when I half press it, I can get a focus hold. And whenever I full press it, well, I can take a picture if I'm in picture mode on my camera. So these buttons don't work with every manufacturer. Whenever I go into my phone here, it says the camera power supply works only with Sony. And the video record button is Sony and Panasonic, and Canon might be coming soon. The focus and shutter button is Sony and Panasonic, and Canon might be coming soon. And then of course the zoom in and out is Sony. So all the buttons on here, you could almost say that this gimbal is more dedicated to Sony users. Obviously it's gonna balance the same no matter what camera you have on there, but these buttons will completely work with Sony cameras as long as you have the camera and lens to support that. You got a nice joystick. They put some grooves in it so that, you know, your thumb isn't gonna slip off. It feels nice and smooth, and you know, it feels well built. You can click it to select things in mode and whatnot. And speaking of which, here's the mode button. You're able to switch the way your gimbal reacts. Follow mode, roll pitch mode, this and that. and you also have your camera mode here. So this is actually kind of like a camera preset button. You're allowed to program up to 5 different camera presets, and by default, Pilotfly puts 5 different, average camera weights in there to choose from. So I currently use mine on number 2 with the Sony a6500 and 18-105. And then right below that, you have the zoom in and out buttons right here. Since I shoot with the Sony 18-105 f4G lens, I'm allowed to use that power zoom function. Since everything's internal of that lens, I actually have the ability to zoom in and out with these buttons, and that is a huge game changer. That is why I got this as my travel and vlogging setup. It just works, it's so easy, and everything's literally at my fingertips. And last but not least, here on the grip, you have your OLED display. So similar to what the Zhiyun Crane 2 has, this gives you all of the information that you could possibly need with your gimbal stuff. I'm really happy with everything that they have on the screen. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on now. All right. So whenever I turn it on, it says I'm on camera 4, so that would be my camera preset. And then it says mode, I'm in pitch lock mode, and it gives me the battery output. It says it's 15.3 volts, and it says I got 2 bars of battery left. I'm really happy with that because now I know everything that I really need to know about this. I no longer have to, play around with the gimbal to figure out what mode I'm in. I already know because it tells me. So if I hold mode down, it goes to home position. I push mode once. I'm now in follow mode. So whenever I pick it up, it's gonna follow all of my movements. So this gimbal has a time-lapse mode on it. It's not something that I use often. I tested it out while I was in Romania. I tested it out here at the house, just pointing up at the stars. It works. It works really good. You click the joystick 4 times, and whenever you hear those beeps, you can now position the gimbal to where you want it. You have about 10 seconds or so, and then it's gonna stop. And now the time lapse has just began. Once again, I'm not a time-lapse photographer. It's not something that I do a lot of, but it works really good and it's really easy to set up. And whenever you want to repeat a time lapse, you just tap the joystick 5 times. Some people were complaining about the, first generation, Zhiyun cranes and some of the other brands out there. Whenever you're balancing this gimbal, it's a completely toolless design. I'm gonna turn the gimbal off here. It has these nuts that don't require any kind of tools. You no longer need to carry an Allen wrench around or anything like that. Everything can be done with your fingertips, and that's super amazing because whenever you're on the fly and you're trying to get some shots real quick, and you need to throw on a different camera, a different lens, or what have you. I also want to show you all just how quick I can balance my Sony a6500 and show you how easy it is. So we're gonna go ahead and start by just putting it in right here with the Manfrotto quick release plate. So this gimbal has, I want to say, 4 different USB ports. Right here, it has the camera control one, which I currently have hooked up to my a6500. So that allows me to use all the buttons here. And it has the 14 to 16 volt output. And over here on the side is usually what I use to plug into my computer to kind of look at the software and adjust and fine tune a few things. And this gimbal uses the simple BGC 32-bit software, and I'm not gonna lie, that thing's a beast. I had a couple little issues whenever I was trying to fine tune some things. I personally messed something up. It was 100% my fault. And actually one of the managers of Pilotfly, Marcus Oswald, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, buddy. He actually remoted into my computer and actually fine-tuned some things and made this gimbal flawless. He asked me what I wanted to set up with this gimbal, and he just made it happen. Let's talk about the really good, the good, and the maybe not so good, okay? So starting off with the really good about this gimbal, it literally has every feature that I could possibly want. I do not shoot on Canon cameras, therefore I'm not interested in having The focus wheel over here is similar to what the Zion Crane 2 has. If they do make a gimbal with that, that's great. But since I shoot Sony, Sony doesn't actually allow that with their cameras. Therefore, I don't really need that wheel on the side of a gimbal. Anyways, I'm able to zoom with this gimbal. It has an OLED display so that I can see exactly what I'm doing. I'm able to switch camera presets and modes. I'm also able to start and stop recording with a button up here on the top. I'm able to focus and even take a picture with the trigger button on the back. Guys, this gimbal literally has every feature I could possibly want, including a small and compact design that is able to support up to 3.2 kilograms. Guys, that is 7 pounds of weight. Now, I don't have 7 pounds of gear to go out there and vlog with. I'm not interested in doing that. I haven't tested 7 pounds, but I am thinking about putting that 7200 on here just to see what happens. I'm gonna say that another really good thing about the Pilotfly gimbal isn't actually the gimbal at all, it's their customer service. So the few times that I have had the Zion Cranes, or I've even tried some of the other Chinese brands and stuff, the customer service is terrible. As a matter of fact, I was getting better customer service through B&H or Adorama, wherever I purchased that gimbal from, because whenever I reached out to their support, they would usually just update the firmware, and then I would run into more issues. And I know several Zion Crane 2 users were running into all kind of firmware issues. I have zero with this gimbal on. Now, that's not to say that there aren't some quirky things that can happen. Like I said, I have broke this thing already, software related, because I was, playing around with it. But the thing is, Marcus actually reached out to me whenever I told him I was having a few issues with the gimbal. He remoted into my computer while on the phone with me for almost 2 hours, talking about everything that this gimbal can possibly do, things that are to come with this gimbal, and it just really blew my mind away that there's still some high quality customer service out there like that. Pilotfly is this, fairly decent sized gimbal company, and yet not a lot of people are really even paying attention to customer service. I think that's a huge deal. If I have something wrong with this gimbal, I want to be able to reach out to them and know that that's going to get fixed like that. Marcus was even talking to me on the weekends, trying to make sure that everything is good to go and squared away for my Romania trip. And I really want to give you a shout out, Marcus. Thank you for helping me out. This gimbal is flawless, even more so than when I first got it, and I think this is a really awesome product here. Alright, so those are the really great things about this gimbal and the customer service, right? Now we're going to talk about the just good things. It stabilizes great. The footage I'm getting out of this is amazing. The only little bit of bobble I'm getting is from my own personal fault of the way I walk, which once again, kind of like what I said at the beginning of this video, a lot of you had a misunderstanding of my walk and run test. So I'm currently traveling the world, going to Spain, Italy, France, Romania, Germany, here and there. And I don't always want to walk around like super smooth to get those shots. Sometimes I'm just out there having fun, and I don't want to worry too much about like my legs and my walking technique. So that's why I did that walk and run test. I'm sorry to those of you that didn't understand what I'm doing, but you will see here within this video of what this gimbal is fully capable of. So, like I said, I think the stabilization is great. I think the build quality on this is great. Up here, this is all aluminum. Like, it feels super solid. It's rigid. And even right here on this arm, I don't know if you can really see the bottom of it too much, but it even has a little rubberized grip here. Just to, like if it were to hit something, it wouldn't scratch. And I think they paid really close attention to detail. Now, down here at the grip, this is plastic. Now, I guarantee you the reason why they did it plastic is just to keep the weight down on this. If you look at the Adventure gimbal, they're all about exploring and getting out there and shooting. So like travel compact size, this and that, I think that's why they kept this plastic, just to keep the weight down to an absolute minimum. And this is by far the smallest and most petite gimbal I've ever used. And not only that, but it's also the most powerful gimbal. So trying to put this gimbal into positions that are you know, kind of tough on motors, it really holds up really well. You know, you don't feel any like little micro vibrations or anything like that unless you're in a super awkward position, like maybe like over here, which I don't feel anything right now, but I have in the past. And I just really think the motors that are on the inside of this gimbal are top notch. So I already kind of said it earlier, but another awesome feature about this gimbal is the compact size. As I turn it back off here, you know, this is a really small gimbal, guys. This is additional. I added this tripod. When you take that off, look how small this gimbal actually is. I mean, it's absolutely tiny. And with that being said, I'm able to throw it into my Think Tank Shapeshifter version 2 bag, and not even in the main compartment. I'm putting it in the laptop compartment. That's how small it is, and that's also with the tripod legs attached. I was not able to do that with the Zion Crane 2, and I really think that this is amazing because you have a motor payload of up to 7 pounds if you are going to shoot with something that heavy, and it's an even more compact size. So now we're going to talk about the things that I personally am not a fan of. These are just little quirks. The Adventurer gimbal is the closest product to being flawless in this market. It really is that good, guys. And I really wish more people knew about the Pilotfly Adventure, because you all are like limiting yourself, you know, to not having these features for something that is out there right now. So about the things that I'm not a fan of is the battery compartment. Let me sit that down here. You gotta unlock it through the bottom here. So there I go. It comes off really easy. Take the battery out, swap it out. It's a really quick process, but I actually kind of wish they had some way to unlock the battery compartment from the side. The reason being is only because of the tripod. I think that's a perfect place to have it, except for the fact that, you know, 9 times out of 10, I'm using a tripod. So with this screwed into the bottom, I have to take this off every time that I want to change my batteries. So maybe in their next iteration of the Pilotfly Adventure or the next gimbal they come out with, maybe they'll consider some other kind of locking mechanism over here on the side that, you know, maybe we won't easily open up that compartment, but so that we don't have to unscrew that tripod. That's just one of my little quirks. Another thing is the on and off button. I actually think it's fine, you know, like where it's at, like my finger isn't normally gonna be hitting that and accidentally turning it on or off or anything like that. But with the kind of raised lip that it has, I was throwing it into my bag one day and it accidentally turned on and it did the beep, 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 you know, where the motors are like overloaded because it was squished in my bag. So I kind of wish maybe that was like, I don't know, maybe just like smooth, like there wasn't a way to really turn on and off unless you kind of like dig your fingernail in there. Guys, I'm getting petty with this gimbal because it really is the closest gimbal to being flawless out there. There's no other gimbal on the market as of right now that has all the features that this has, the stabilization, quality, and just the customer service. It just, there's nothing else out there. Now, another thing that's not so good about this gimbal is actually the app. If you have an iPhone, no worries, guys. iPhones work 100%, like you have full functionality. The problem is when you have an Android. Now, I have the Note 8, right? And sometimes I'm able to connect and sometimes I'm not able to. That's why I keep my iPhone handy. Sometimes I record some of these YouTube videos from the gimbal and I'll kind of play around with my iPhone just to make sure I get the framing where I want it. With the Note 8, I'm gonna try connecting right now and we're gonna see what happens. Okay, so I'm opening up Basecamp, simple BGC, 32-bit software. And I'm gonna click connect and we'll see. For the most part, my phone just gets stuck at reading device parameters, 2 out of 6. Sometimes it'll go up to 4 out of 6. We'll try restarting everything and see if that helps. And like I said, whenever I am able to connect, I have full functionality over it. I can do everything. Everything works fine. Everything operates as it should. It's just kind of hit or miss whether my phone is going to establish a connection with a gimbal or not. All right. All right, I just click connect. It says connecting, check device version, and it's just spinning. Like I said, if you're on iOS, it's immediate. Android, hit or miss. It does say on Pilotfly's website whenever downloading the software to be aware that it, might have some issues. It's still kind of in beta version. Yeah. It's just stuck at check device version. So that's just one of those things that's kind of a downfall of this gimbal. If you are an Android user and you do constantly like to use your phone to control it and whatnot, there might be a few quirky issues until they get the software patched. Now, I don't actually use my phone a lot, and it's not something that I have or plan on using a lot during my photo and video shoots, because I have so many functions right here at my fingertips. I don't really need the functionality of a phone. I think that's more of just kind of like a cool feature if you have your gimbal stationary and you want to get a smoother shot of something that you can't do with your hand. That's just my take on it. All right, so I just walked outside of my backyard. It finally kind of stopped raining for a minute. So I am gonna grab some footage of all 5 of the different modes that this gimbal has to offer. So I'm currently shooting with the Sony a6500 with the 18-105 f4G lens, and I had the Rode Video Micro mount up on top just so I have some audio for me talking the camera and whatnot. So I'm gonna show you guys just some random footage in my backyard of trees and leaves and all that good stuff. And I'm gonna show you all what different modes that I'm in. So pay attention to all of the overlaid text that I display in the video, okay? Here we go. I think one of the coolest features of this gimbal is when I double tap the joystick twice, it will do a 180-degree turn and enable a selfie mode. So 2 taps and here I am talking to the camera. Alright, so that pretty much wraps up my full review of the Pilotfly Adventure Gimbal. I wanted to make this video no fluff. I want to get straight to the point, the things that I like and dislike, even though there really isn't anything that I dislike about it as of right now. I think this is an awesome product. You know, to you other gimbal users out there, if you are currently using a Zion or another mainstream gimbal, but you notice that it's kind of hindering your work from time to time, I would highly recommend you considering this gimbal. It does cost a little bit more than some of the other gimbals, but look at everything you're getting here. I am 100% happy with this purchase, and I plan on using this for years to come, and I'm really happy with what Pilotfly is doing right now, alright? So as always, like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see more of this work, and also for those weekly uploads, alright? Be sure to hashtag LaneMcCall on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter so that I can see what kind of projects you all are up to, okay? Get out there, start shooting, and have some fun. My name is Lane McCall.